You know, I'm one of the few people that has come out in support of the Revuelto ever since it's first come out. As a matter of fact, the majority of people who drove this car kept saying, it's not as good as an SVJ is better. And I've argued this is the base model of what was an incredibly good platform for Lamborghini. Now, contrary to those two to every manufacturer just because they get lent a car, we own our cars here at Exotic Car Hacks. I own every car, so therefore I get to talk shit all I want from because I paid for them. The Revuelto is an excellent product. This is, by definition, a rich man's Huracan. It's usable, it's exciting, it's got plenty of room inside, and it drives wonderful despite its large size. That new thing they put out called the Temerario, not so much a fan, but this is an absolute fantastic car. But I've argued a few things when the car first came out. I said it was an early platform and would need a few tweaks to really come across as an engaging platform. And so the answer became, what kind of modifications can we do to this to really get it to stand out? Now, first off, I want to point out that the majority of people assume that the first thing you need to do to a V12 is to make it louder. And I actually disagree. In this particular case, getting more attention with this would be contradictory to why it exists to begin with. Because while we may think that this is an SVJ replacement, it certainly is not. This is the base Revuelto model. And it is superb in every way, as I've said in 2 of my reviews of it, especially since I've owned it for over a year. But we've improved what Lamborghini could have improved from the very beginning. All right, guys, welcome back to Exotic Car Hacks. Today we are looking at my Frankenstein, but very well Frankenstein Revuelto 2024 with every possible carbon option at the time in 24. I've argued when I bought this car originally that these cars need to be darker in nature, like pastel colors or matte colors or any type of non-flashy like red, blue, orange, etc. to really bring out the lines. And yes, when they are in stock form, they're quite boring, but when you go to the extreme like we went here, you now get a spectacular end result because it's not a bright color. This car is finished in Grigio Telesto, and yes, the interior is absolutely factory, and it is Tiffany blue interior on the factory side, and it is Grigio Telesto on the exterior side. Now, if you guys know, I've put the blue Glauco color on the map for years for Lamborghini with my first Performante back in 2017, and then every year since, every Lamborghini I've done. This was the first car where I've decided that enough people have copied me, and I've moved the blue Glauco to the interior, which is a color a lot of people don't think about, but yet works wonderfully on interior leather and looks honestly beautiful. It contrasts the car while keeping it serious and mean. And in this case, we've made a few upgrades to this car with some of our friends at Will's Boutique and specifically at Vorsteiner, who have just released a new kit for this car. Now, part of the reason why I wanted the Vorsteiner kit is I'm not a believer that the Revuelto really suffers from the ugliness that a lot of cars suffer from, where it needs significant changes to make it attractive. So to give you context about not just what I've done, but why I've done it, we're going to go through this car and I'm going to show you why I've decided to mod it this way. Now, some people think that this car is not loud enough. I disagree. I think the factory car is just loud enough to enjoy it while also being able to be quiet enough in hybrid mode to escape your garage to go do some terrible things in the middle of the night like every man should, regardless of who's sleeping next to them. That's the point of being a man. Some of you may not understand that. Anyways, the first thing we're looking at are these Anarchy wheels. So I decided to go with an Anarchy, specifically mesh design, because I believed originally when the car was not as done up as it is now, that the lines on this car don't have a lot of details, which means that adding details to a wheel made sense. And I went with a very bold, specific color that people said was a very big risk, but it paid off big time. So, 2 things we've discovered when doing wheels on this car, which I've gone through 3 sets of wheels before finding this one, or manufacturing this one, I should say, with my friends at Will's Boutique, that really hit. First one is if you're going to do a Revuelto, just so you know, the car from the factory can come with 22-inch wheels, which means that the factory wheels are actually pretty good to begin with. They're actually 10 millimeters off in offset from what you can work on, which isn't that much. And if you think about it, adding a 10 millimeter spacer means you get the same fitment from a factory wheel, which is really unheard of and really good for them to have been able to do that. So good looking wheel, but not good enough if you're into aftermarket. One of the things you can't do is obviously you can't go bigger, and one of the issues is if you actually go 3-piece, you technically go smaller. So this is one of these rare type of cars where a 2-piece reverse lip application works spectacularly well by keeping the large front face, but giving the car some depth and giving it a false sense of having a lip. So 2-piece applications is what works best on the Revuelto specifically for that perfect size to offset design. Now the polished gold was a little bit, polished bronze I should say, was a little bit of a risk, but I decided to do it because I had seen it previously on a matte version of the Grigio Celeste and thought it was pretty exciting. I decided to give it a try and it paid off very, very well, making the car pop, but still retaining that sense of luxury, class, elegance, and still fuck you money. The point of this was to make sure the wheel style and colors match the function of the car. What I mean by that is that the car is a rich man's Huracan, and I wanted to kind of replicate that and not go with something that made the car look like it had a fat tires or a race car or whatever. It was meant to be kind of like this fuck you variation of the car, and it worked really well. And take a look at even using factory tires, how good of a fitment we can get with just 10 millimeters better offset than the factory wheel. We're just getting this perfect, flawless drop. Now, the car obviously past that then gets lowered. It has adjustable coils from the factory, so thankfully you don't need to actually buy Novitec suspension from it, which is pretty exciting and really good play on Lamborghini again. Wow, 2 out of 2 for them for nailing that. But this car came with all carbon options minus the carbon roof, which wasn't available in 2024 until some of the late 24, early 25 models. And this was one of the first ad personam car. I didn't want to do a launch car, so I went with a very specific color combo, which was only one of the better cars because it didn't have some of the early problem units that came in pre-1500 VINs, but this specific car was not available to have a carbon roof. It would have probably been done, but looking now back, I probably wouldn't have done it knowing if the outcome was going to be this good. I did, however, do all of the carbon fiber inside out that was available, including the side pieces, which I think make a significant design difference if you're going to be buying a Revuelto. Make sure you get that at the very least, along with all other external carbon options, including this carbon engine bay, which makes a design difference that is absolutely significant in nature. But wheels, we went with this, but for the body kit, we wanted to do somewhat of something unique, and I want to point you to kind of like the direction here. If you take a look, Vorsteiner, and one of the reasons we went with the Vorsteiner kit when it was first announced, which hasn't even been released from my understanding by the time we did this kit on the car, this particular wing right here is what made me drawn to this. So if you look at the Duke Dynamics, really widely interesting body kit, you'll have noticed it because it has lights here, and it has this wing that starts in the middle here. Like basically it connects here, it comes up, and it kind of floats across here. There are other more extensive body kits that make the car wide body, etc., and I just think it's unnecessary. The car is already proportionally very wide and attractive looking. This wing did something magical for me when I first saw it, and I decided that this was the kit to go with because of the wing. What it did is it retained that sleek look that when you look at the car from here, basically, you don't really feel like there's any enhanced wing adaptation or anything, or large wing like an SVJ, because it's not an SVJ. And so one of the things that I kind of noticed is how do we retain the factory function for the actual spoiler while having some kind of extension that looks good. And this gave me the vibes for looking at it from the outside in that not only keeps the slickness and not the elevation of a wing, but also gives you long tail vibes like a McLaren, where it stretches out the car even further, similar to a Bugatti Supersport or McLaren 765 or any of their LT models. In addition to that, with the Vorsteiner, you get the excessive additional carbon diffuser, which is 2 attachments on each side, 1 on each side, and you don't get any weird lights or anything, so you don't have to have any cartoon character look, but it requires the original carbon diffuser first in order to basically get this add-on. If you don't have the carbon diffuser, you'll need to basically get an actual carbon rear bumper before actually adding this piece, because that's what it ties up to, and it's absolutely fantastic. Honestly, it looks very, very nice in nature. It's a very good looking rear end, very, very good looking, and very exciting to look at. So I just really liked how this came out, even though I didn't expect to like it at first. I was like, I'm not sure. And then basically I saw it and I was like, it's absolutely beautiful. So all of that, you know, came out amazing on the back. And on the front of it, we decided to do a little different. So Vorsteiner offers a hood and a fender system. And one of the reasons I didn't want to do that was twofold. First off, I didn't want to change the fenders on this car. I thought this was excessive, and if I was going to do fender swaps, I would have done a full wide body kit. So I needed a hood that actually kind of retained these fender vents here, and instead of bringing them here like the original Vorsteiner hood, brought them here. So the hood itself is Duke Dynamics, which I thought was a very good design for the hood. We've done something a little bit different to give you a vibe. Most of the hoods on the internet have actual paint all the way up to this area here, so the only carbon exposed part is on the inner side of the scoop. For this particular car, we decided to expose a line here showcasing the follow-through of the actual carbon, really accentuating the top nostrils, and then added the actual Vorsteiner front lip, which is just subtle enough on both sides and not connected in the middle to create this very wide and exciting front. Now, for those of you that don't know, I had an Urus once when it first came out in like 2019, 2020, that had the Vorsteiner kit that did something very similar, and it was absolutely a perfect front lip and something very exciting that very few people talk about, and I thought that was very, very good. In this particular case, this piece has also accentuated the aggression of the hood even better than expected, and you end up getting this, which is probably one of the meanest and most exciting dynamic designs I think I've ever seen on a car, with very wide stance, very large car, very agile, very strong, good sounding. And you get a very, very incredible package all under $1 million. I mean, this kit can be bought, I think, in the 30, 40 grand range. And if you're talking about 30, 40 grand, just added on top of a 750K well-spec'd car, you're talking about 800K for this. This is still significantly better value than the majority of cars on the market under $1 million. And in my opinion, better value than an SVJ. I'm not saying this is a better car than an SVJ, because it's a very different car. I'm saying better value than an SVJ in the way that you can use this more. I think its design is significantly light years ahead of the SVJ. And I think with these subtle differences and changes to carbon fiber, diffusers, and wings, you get a finished product that looks so good that when put next to an SVJ isn't even comparable in nature based on how aggressive this looks compared to the SVJ. So personally, this has been an incredible project for me. There's nothing else that is getting done to this car. It is now over, meaning that I now will enjoy this for the next couple of months. I have just ordered a Revuelto SV that is supposed to be revealed at Pebble Beach this year. I just placed my order recently, so I should hopefully have that at the beginning of next year. This is the same car that has the matching motorcycles that you can see here in this video, which is pretty incredible because that was one of 10 in the USA that was actually built to match my Revuelto. That's why you'll see the blue Glocco and the Grigio Telesto elements on it. But this has been a very incredible project, and it's going to be very hard to get rid of this car once the Revuelto SV comes in. As a matter of fact, I'm going to wait till the SV comes in, play with it, and see if I can move some of these parts over. Otherwise, I might just do something different and perhaps keep both. So if you want to learn more about, of course, modifications, how to leverage them to make sure that obviously you can make money off of these modifications once you sell your car instead of lose money on mods, make sure you click the link in the description and learn the Exotic Car Hacks way. It's just a better way to own a car, and little elements like this do make a difference in getting a better return for your car. So in this case, the car is not for sale yet, but in the next couple of months, maybe in a year or so, it will be. This has been probably one of my favorite design projects to work on over the last like 2 years or so. Nothing really interesting has come out on the market to really tweak like this. And as I've said before, the Revuelto platform is one of the best first line of platform type cars that has been launched by a manufacturer anywhere. Big kudos to Lamborghini for this car. I'm a big fan of it, not a fan of a lot of other cars out there that have come out. And I feel like this is so much value, which is something that you don't say a lot knowing how expensive Lamborghinis are, generally speaking. But compared to the world of cars we live in today, one of the best values, bang for the buck, out there on the market. Anyways, let me know what you think of the finished product. I think it came out excellent and amazing. And otherwise, I'll catch you next time for Exotic Car Hacks. And of course, like, subscribe, turn on notifications.